This British spy was sentenced to 42 years in prison, but he escaped, vanished, and lived the rest of his life in Moscow. Subscribe for more real-life escape stories. George Blake was born in 1922 to a Dutch mother and an Egyptian Jewish father. During the Second World War, he joined the British Navy and was later recruited by MI6 for his intelligence skills and fluency in several languages. To his colleagues, he was calm, loyal, and brilliant. But behind that quiet face was a man shaped by war and ideology. After being captured during the Korean War and witnessing the suffering of civilians under bombing campaigns, Blake's faith in the West began to break. While imprisoned in North Korea, he read deeply about Marxist ideas and the Soviet Union's vision of equality. By the time he was released and returned to London, something inside him had changed. Without warning or financial motive, he secretly approached Soviet intelligence, offering to work for them. MI6 welcomed him back as a returning hero, unaware he had become one of the most dangerous spies in British history. Between 1953 and 1961, George Blake betrayed hundreds of British and American agents to the KGB. Many of those he exposed were captured or executed. He operated calmly from his London office, passing documents, codes, and operational details to Soviet handlers. To his colleagues, he remained the perfect gentleman, polite, punctual, and loyal. To Moscow, he was a priceless ally. The scale of his betrayal would only be discovered years later, shocking even hardened intelligence officers. In 1961, a Polish defector exposed Blake's secret. He was arrested, tried in silence, and sentenced to 42 years in prison, the longest term ever handed down by a British court at the time. But true to his pattern, George Blake refused to accept confinement. In 1966, with help from two anti-establishment friends and a fellow inmate, he escaped from Wormwood Scrubs prison using a rope ladder and crossed into East Berlin, hidden inside a camper van. The man who had once sworn allegiance to Britain was now a guest of the KGB. George Blake spent the rest of his life in Moscow, where he was celebrated as a hero. He never expressed regret for what he'd done, insisting he had acted out of conscience, not treachery. "I looked at the world," he once said, "and I chose the side I believed would bring peace." He lived quietly in Russia until his death in 2020, at the age of 98, the last great Cold War spy who escaped justice and lived to see the world he helped divide. Subscribe for more real-life stories like this.